From Wakefield, it's the Nolan Night Show, inviting you to join Nolan's guest this week for the season 6 finale, Rory Stewart. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's Nolan.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the show. And joining me this week, I feel very honored and privileged to have one of the newest Rams, the next person to join the Ram family to take this new image and this new team into the foreseeable future to help him get back on track. He is the one and only Mr. Rory Stewart. Rory, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
We're doing our best to survive. I got graduation in a few weeks, so
Oh yeah, right.
we're doing our best. So that's all we can say, especially during these times that although they seem like they're going the right direction.
Uh-huh.
I want to ask you, as I usually do with all the people who have on, sort of ask how life's going. So for you, not just in the last week or so after committing to Rhode Island, but sort of since everything sort of died down with the pandemic, how's life been for you?
It's been pretty good. Obviously we had a tough time up here in Canada. But then, once it started dying down, it was getting better. Obviously, we missed a whole year of school basketball and club basketball to the pandemic. But once that kind of died down, yeah, it definitely came a lot better. Obviously, we were able to play games and able to practice and all that. So definitely was pretty good.
A few of your future, or at least one of your future teammates that I had on, Sebastian Thomas, who will be a sophomore next year. I asked him, seeing as he experienced the pandemic and playing prep basketball in high school here in Rhode Island, and then playing last year with it was to a degree sort of mellowed out. But for you now to be able to experience it, and you saw it with touring the campus and coaching, what is it going to be like for you now that it looks like everything's kind of gone away and now be able to play freely for next season?
I mean, it's thankful obviously that everyone's kind of done their part to get us back on track. But I mean, I can't wait to play in front of all the crowd again.
Sure.
Obviously, we had to figure out how many people could get into stadiums and if anyone could. But I mean, now that everyone's allowed to come back in, and I think it's gonna be great to play in front of a lot of people again, make a lot of people happy.
Sure. And now for me, I'm nothing more than a rec player, so
Right.
I don't I don't have the experiences that you've had playing for crowds large and medium sized, and you'll be able to experience that here. But I've seen my fair share of URI games and basketball games too. My sisters play basketball, so I've
Uh-huh.
definitely experienced it. But I think that definitely helps. I think 2 years ago when the pandemic happened and only the players were allowed to be in there, it definitely changes the environment to
Oh yeah.
not have fans there. Now to have fans, it helps them go rock and roll. And I asked a former coach for URI who was there last year how it was like for him, seeing as he went through school without the pandemic years ago, and it's going to be interesting to see. I'm glad to see it back. Although you recently sort of now starting at the beginning, although you recently spent time at Orangeville Prep with another current or future URI player as well, Jeremy. What was it for you before that growing up? Basketball for you, your relationship with it was like what, and in terms of also potentially doing it after high school or college?
Right. So I mean, when I was super young and even up to I was 12. I didn't even play basketball. I lived actually in United Kingdom, lived in London. So basketball was never really a thing for me in my life. So when we moved to Canada, it took a year for me when we moved to Canada to even start playing. And I had my sixth grade coach at the time. He was I was still playing soccer at school, playing all these things. And then he kind of came up to me. He's like, I got to use your height for something.
Yeah.
And then he came in, he's like, you got to play for the basketball team. And I still talk to him, and I'm super thankful that looking back on it now, he's the guy that got it all started off with me. And then, yeah, fell in love with the game, started playing club ball, and then, kind of worked my way up. But I always knew that I was going to be, a bit behind everyone else, because obviously I did start so late.
Sure.
And, that's kind of the thing that I have in my mind. I got to work harder than everyone else just to be able to get the same things now that I'm, behind, and now obviously I've caught myself up. But back grade 6, grade 7, grade 8, grade 9, even grade 10, 11, that was kind of always a thing that I knew that if I wanted to progress to the next level, I just had to work much harder than everyone else to get the same things.
Sure, and I'm sure also proving that making that decision to play basketball, you deserve to be there with others who might have been playing longer for you. And I think that also it speaks to the type of, I think, program that URI is, where I'm not saying everyone on there started at the same point as you did, but maybe not doubted, but people maybe overlooked, or people having to prove that they belong to be there. And Providence College is the more successful program, but I think it definitely, maybe I'm wrong, that it helps you, I think, have better drive and the ability to be, I don't want to say much better, but the ability to improve faster and be more hungry than others because you knew what it take to get here at a different level.
Of course, not if I think that if you have a team just like URI, who's always kind of been, I wouldn't say secondary, but Providence has always been a bigger school.
Sure.
I think that if you have a lot of those guys on one team who I would consider dogs, who kind of just want to work harder than everyone else, it's a really special thing to be a part of, because you all know, you all have the same common goal, and what it takes to be a great team, and I think a lot of schools that always have, who are always winning, who are always doing all these great things, a lot of them kind of think that it comes easy. And when you're with a lot of guys who are, doubted, I would say, it's something really special to be a part of.
Sure. And I'm sure also it gives you a greater appreciation for the ability to have played the game, but also learn at a fast pace. I'm sure that was tested during the early stages of the pandemic, where lockdown, no season, semi-season fans are not able to come, or a certain amount. I know here in the United States, when it was really going wild, it was open, and then the season was canceled. They had no state tournament. They had like their division here around in South Kingstown, and then now only 2 fans are let back. And my sister, who graduated from high school last year, she's a freshman at URI this past year, and her senior year, there was only 2 fans allowed for senior night, and it was, my parents went. But so it's, like I said before, it's good to see, but also I'm sure it gives you a greater appreciation. You sort of mentioned it, how you started basketball at 12, you moved to Canada. But do you remember maybe at those earlier years playing, do you remember where you have something here like, oh, maybe, I have something here that's maybe better than the other players, or was it later when you were getting to Orangeville?
I mean, I think that this is a tough question, because I think that when I first started playing, obviously I was just playing like for fun. I mean, when I was 12, you never really think about what you can make of it. But I was playing it, every day, just because I loved it.
Sure.
That was the only reason I was playing it, and I fell in love with it so much where I would work really hard at it without really even knowing, and just playing the game every single day was just something that I found so enjoyable. And then through that, obviously, you get so much better so quickly, because obviously you're at a younger age and all that type of stuff. But I was in the gym more than other guys I was playing with without even really knowing.
Sure.
And that obviously allowed me to get better and all that type of stuff. But I didn't really think all of this would come out of it.
Yeah.
So I kind of entered the prep scene, and I kind of measured myself against guys, obviously in Canada and in America, who I could play against at that level. And then that's when I kind of knew, I could make something out of this. And that's also the thing that, drove me even harder to get to this level.
Another thing that I've asked to other athletes, like, to my knowledge, is, sacrifice, what it takes to get to a high level. You're, good to be a college athlete, and that takes a lot of sacrifice, time set aside from other social things to focus on basketball, which you believe in yourself to do, and others do. So share with me, if you can, the what it took for you and how much sacrifice you put in time into basketball in order to get to where you are.
Yeah, I mean, my whole thing was I didn't really care about, I would say, shining. I didn't really care about, rankings, all that type of stuff until, I mean, I still don't, but I don't really care about that type of stuff. I just thought that, if I could always be the hardest worker in the gym, and hardest work in the room is that I know that good things will come for me. So
Sure.
I remember, grade 11 and 12 were my biggest years of development, I would say. And I had a full team of guys, but I would be the only one who would wake up 6 a.m. every morning to get in the gym. And then when COVID came, the whole season, my whole grade 12, I mean, I did post grad in Canada, but a whole grade 12 season kind of got shut down. So I was in a bubble the entire year. So that it was a huge sacrifice for me. Obviously, I didn't even get to see my family. Thanksgiving, we had Thanksgiving in Canada, didn't get to go home for that. And then obviously went home for Christmas, but that was really the only break I had until summer. So it was a huge sacrifice, and it was definitely tough. But you know, when you're in an environment like that, when obviously there's my whole team too, with a bunch of guys who we kind of just put our heads together and said, you know what, we got to make the best of this.
Sure.
Because there's other guys, and the States was getting up on their feet faster than Canada was. So just to make ourselves in level with what the States were doing, we had to make sure that we were working out and working super hard at that time. So yeah, that was definitely a huge year for me.
I mentioned, I believe I also asked this to Sebastian, and he shared about his experience doing prep league basketball and how he hated going to New York and it was cold and far away and all that undesirable jazz, but it helped him more specific on basketball. But I'm curious on your situation and when you realized what need to be put in to get to that next level after high school or other stuff to get to that level where kids are better than you and you're trying to match up.
Right. I mean, I entered the prep scene in grade 10, and I played on a team that, a rival team, I would say, against Orangeville, which is kind of funny because I ended up there. But yeah, I would play against, the likes of, M.A. Moncrief, who ended up at Oklahoma State, and Tyrese Samuel, who ended up at Seton Hall, and a lot of these other guys. And, I remember my first OSBA game, I matched up in grade 10. I was, like a 6'6", super skinny guy against a 6'10", absolute monster guy, Joe Jones, who ended up at Georgia State. And I kind of seen all these guys, and I was like, okay, this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. And this is why I have to, that's always the thing that I kept rolling in my mind, is that this is what I have to look like by, obviously I'm a lot younger than these guys. It's not going to take a day, but this is what I have to look like by the time I graduate in order to be successful in this game.
Sure.
So I kind of kept looking at myself in the mirror, and I was like, okay, I'm not there yet.
Sure.
Worked a little bit harder. A couple months later, okay, I'm still not there yet. And it took a lot of time, obviously, but I mean, I just worked so hard until the point where I was like, okay, I'm ready for this now, and
Sure.
and this is my time to prove everyone that this is what I can do.
Sure, and that's certainly an adjustment that you have to make. And when you're playing that situation where you're there doing it by yourself, similar to college, when you'll experience these things and adjusting to another higher level. Was that and you maybe just alluded to it then, but was that an easy adjustment for you to realize that you need to make these steps in order to match up and be able to play in college?
No, it was super tough. I mean, I remember, obviously, like I said, I playing prep in grade 10. I was like, every time I would get out on the court, it felt like I was just being bullied and like all that type of stuff. But I think once I got into my head that it's a learning curve,
Sure.
and it's going to take time. Like, I'd obviously get frustrated with myself that I can't do all these things, but these guys are 4 years older than me,
Yeah.
or 3 years older than me. And it's like, I just gotta, take my time and just work out as hard as I can, and stay in the gym, and keep, getting at the weights and all that type of stuff. And I think that once I kind of, that was fine for me in my head,
Sure.
then that was when I kind of didn't really care about that stuff anymore. I
Sure.
just knew that my time was coming, and that, I just stayed patient and true to the grind. And that's really all it took for me.
Sure. I mentioned to you briefly before we got going about how my level of basketball is quite a bit different from
Right.
yours. Being I like to say I'm the James Jones of the Miami Heat of my rec team. I score 2 or 3 points, get a few rebounds, a few steals, a hell of a lot of turnovers.
Right.
So I never got to experience, or not saying boohoo me, but my life is different in the sense of I didn't experience the attention in terms of media, but also colleges. And there was a former URI player I had on a few weeks ago. His name is Morgan Cena. He graduated in the 80s. He was part of the Sweet 16 run that they had, 87, 88, where they lost to I'm trying to blank. I should know this. Anyways, they did well, and I asked him about the media attention he had and going
Right.
to Seton Hall and other schools dealing with that, not just in high school, but then also prep league basketball. For you, when you're experienced that and seeing that your story is a little different, where you start a little later playing basketball, was that another version of having to adjust fast and hard when you're dealing with all that attention?
I mean, I think that I was lucky in a position. I would consider myself lucky. A lot of people wouldn't, but I was lucky in a position where I didn't have as much media attention. And I didn't really want it, if I'm being honest.
Sure.
I didn't want anything. I mean, I have me and like I have my small circle. So my mom, my dad, my little family, and a couple of my coaches up at Orangeville. And I think really, if I'm being honest, that's all I really care about, what they think of me. I don't really mind what all this media and stuff says, because I know that stuff is going to come. And but also I think that Canada has been fast growing in terms of media and all that type of stuff, and they're doing a lot more to put their players on the map. Obviously, I mean, in the last few years, you can see that a lot more Canadians are getting drafted, and I think that the talent was always there, but the media attention and the attention to just seeing what we have up in Canada, it's different in terms of, when you look at America versus Canada. But I mean, to me, I never really cared about media attention. And I think that that's kind of what helped me a lot, is I knew that that's all gonna come once I get to the level I need to be at. That's all gonna come, and it didn't really bother me after that.
Sure. I'm also curious with this situation. You recently last week committed to URI and said you're all in. You're going to be here next season.
Yeah.
With Jeremy as well, your teammate from Orangeville. After the Lighthouse Classic, the Bash, where you had that big game, 25 points, nearly a double, and then the other game as well, the Bash. After that success that you have there, and throughout the season, I'm sure as well, and seasons you had at Orangeville, how much does that next phase of the now college sports and being a college athlete circulate around your everyday life?
I mean, I think that my everyday life at Orangeville is not too different from a college player, if I'm being honest. I think that at Orangeville, they do, as a prep school, they do an amazing job of getting us all ready for college. It's almost like a college environment when you get there. Like we have a lot of high expectations in terms of schoolwork and working out on court stuff, games, all that type of stuff. It's obviously it's not at the level. I'm not going to say it is, but they do a really good job of getting you so that you know what to expect when you get there. And I think that's why a lot of Orangeville prep athletes have been so successful in college, because they know what's going to be expected of them, and they're held to that higher standard, of course, but that's nothing that I'm not already used to, and Orangeville prep athlete isn't already used to.
Doing my research, as anyone who does this hopefully does not just asking softball entry level basis questions, reading the other schools that were interested in you, and we're looking at you when you see whether it's a super long list or a smaller list, and you see a list of different schools that are looking at you and curious and interested in having you part of the team. Does that give you, I don't want to say, or maybe it gives, I don't want to say approval, but, a sense of accomplishment, in the sense of all the work you put into it, that now have people realize that, this late start paid off?
Oh, of course it does. I mean, once you get that recognition from colleges, is kind of, I guess how good you are, your worth, I would say. And I think that that's something that gives you the confidence. I think it gives you confidence more than anything else. I think that it's something that it changes a lot of people's whole perspective about you. And then, it makes you think about, your next steps once that starts rolling in, and what you want to distinguish between the different colleges, what you want to have when you go to college, what you don't want to have. And I think that that's something that when all of that starts coming in is something that, you start to think about.
Sure. I want to, speaking of choosing colleges, and I've mentioned before, URI being the one you chose, which, is a phenomenal decision on your part, and anyone else who's from Rhode Island. But, and I've mentioned this, I mentioned to you briefly joking around on Twitter when we were setting this up.
Right.
This is a new avenue for the team, a new transition, a new version of the team, a new chapter, saying all this new stuff for you when you were going through this process of choosing colleges. How much did that weigh on you in terms of what you were going to experience?
I mean, I think that it was quite a big part, if I'm being honest. I think that when something is as new as, the whole coaching staff, and there's going to be a lot of new guys. There's
Yeah.
good, whether that's transfers or incoming guys through high school, like me and my friend Jeremy. I think that when something's as new as it is, I think that it also brings a huge amount of excitement. People don't know what to expect, but when you have the likes of Archie Miller as a coach, you have a lot of high hopes, and
Sure.
and he's not going to be someone that's going to let you down, just the way he is. And I think that when you come into college as a new part of something new, that it's something that's going to be really special
Sure.
from that front.
I also want to ask you this. Archie Miller, Coach Miller, I should say, mentioned in articles and in his press conference, I'm sure, although I wasn't there to attend it, mentioned providing a lot of playing time for the new players on the team, which is always an upside to it, and it's something that really attracts you to a school, which I know is a big thing. Players want playing time. They want to be the star of the team. They want to really provide this and win and all that stuff, which comes with it. But how important, being that you may be getting a lot of playing time down low, how important for you is this summer and then into the preseason, into the fall before the season starts?
Oh, it's absolutely massive. I think that once, and I don't know what there's statistics on it and everything, but once you get to college, I mean, a lot of people, it's a big growing point for a
Sure.
lot of people. And I think that once I can get once I get onto campus, which will hopefully be very soon, um, for the summer and all the
Sure.
preseason stuff, it's going to be huge for me to make sure that I'm getting myself for whatever's to come this season, um and making sure I can secure whatever spot I have in the roster. And I think that something that a coach will never tell you is that you're going to
Sure.
get this amount of minutes,
Yeah.
but that's what this whole summer and the preseason is about, is making sure that you can get to a spot where I'm happy and where they're happy, to perform at the highest level that I can.
Sure. You recently you spoke to Rody Vault, who I know is a family friend, about the type of player you are in the clip you put on
Right.
Twitter, and you're forward and you like to shoot, which I have to shoot as well. As I always say, even if you go 6 for 35, you still made six.
Right.
But you talked about the player you are, and as I've mentioned, and I will continue to say, your teammate at Orangeville will be joining you. What's it going to be like for you to be playing with him, but also, and although you might not be playing the exact same positions, fighting for minutes on the court as a team?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's nothing that is going to be new to us. Obviously, this year Orangeville, I played the 4, he played the 5, but there's always that competition. Whenever you play against anyone, it's always that on-court competition, and that's something about me, is I'm ultra competitive. I don't really, obviously he's a great friend of mine, and we even were roommates, but once we get onto the court, it's I'm gonna make sure that I'm doing everything I can
Sure.
to make myself, better, and
Sure.
all that type of stuff. And I think that once you have that competition, it doesn't make just you better, it makes everyone else around you better. And I think that that's going to be a key part to building a great team, is making sure that everyone's going to be doing everything they can to not only get them better, but also everyone else better.
Well, hopefully that's the case, because then it comes to the situation of humbling yourself if you're not, if you're not in that position. If, let's say, you both were playing and you did better in practice and you were starting over him, or vice versa, which is I think a big thing that's evolved with college basketball nowadays, is players wondering more of what they are going to be doing, what they have, instead of the collective team effort. And you see a lot of players transferring. You see a lot of players going to another school,
Right.
declassifying, because they expect that they're going to be getting this certain
Uh-huh.
role, this certain minutes, this certain success. And unfortunately, that didn't happen as it's known at URI last year. And Rome wasn't built in a day. That's obvious. So, and I asked Sebastian this as well. Patience.
Right.
Patience is key. You're going into a situation where you're new and you can experience it. And as Coach Miller has said, and people know that it's a new era for this team, and it's going to be a little bumpy. So for you, and maybe you experience this seeing as you started when you were 12, patience for you and this upcoming season, what's that going to be like for you to have to deal with what happens?
It's definitely going to have to be something that I keep in my mind on. Don't get me wrong. I think that as coming in as a freshman, I can't think that I'm going to be the best player on the team. Obviously, I'm the youngest. I'm like, I just isn't why would I be? You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be playing with a lot of older guys, and they're going to be, obviously they're going to have known the ropes and all that type of stuff. So I got to be, a freshman coming in that's willing to learn, which is what, I am willing to do. And I think that patience is going to be something that I got to keep focus on, because, college, it's a long 4 years. So I got to know, my time, whether it is going to be this year, sophomore season, junior season, whenever it comes, my time's coming. And I know that, as long as I stay patient and stay, helping whatever the team needs, then that's what I got to do as a freshman.
Sure, it's the mindset you hope, because and you see this with every college, and I'm not saying calling you out and saying
Right.
it, but you see players and they say, oh yeah, the vibe of the school, the culture of it was what I gravitated to, and the coaching staff, and you hope that that's true for them saying that, because to have a situation like this, to play for a team who's had some ups and downs, but to play for a rich team like this is definitely an experience, and to be in an environment where most don't get to experience is another thing. So you hope someone's there for all 4 years, whether they go to the draft or whatever it may be. I read an article in the last question or two I want to ask you through the Province Journal, which is the newspaper here in Rhode Island, and the writer Bill Koch, who deals with college sports and the Red Sox and so on and so forth. He mentioned how you were the first player from England to play for URI since Ben Eves, who played here from 2008 to 2011. We talked about attention. We talked impact. If you knew that, or prior to me saying, or during the moment, how important or impactful was it for you to know that you're one of two players to have come from England to play for the school?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that's really humbling, I would say. Just knowing that, I'm one of two, or whatever you want to call it. But I think that that's something that I've always known. About wherever I am. I think that, obviously, when I think of England, I think of home, and I think that I have a lot of my family and some of my best friends there. So I always remember that I'm playing for two countries. Whenever I step on the court, I gotta, there's a lot of people from both countries who are going to be watching me, and all that type of stuff. So I got to make sure that, obviously I got Canada, but I got the United Kingdom, which is super obviously dear to my heart, and something, and all that type of stuff. So I think that is super humbling, the fact that I'm gonna be that one of two, and I'm gonna be the second person to put on a Rhode Island jersey next year.
Sure, and I don't know, I didn't recognize the other name, so hopefully, and I'm sure you will, talent that you have, that it's more memorable, and others can remember your time here compared to the other person. The last thing I want to ask you before the one word challenge, I'll let you go, and once I'd like to thank you again for taking the time out to do this, but I want to ask you this before the season starts next, coming up in the fall and early winter. What do you hope to accomplish athletically before the season starts?
I mean, I think that, like I said, Orangeville has put me in a great position to be, getting myself into that, what people call college body. Obviously, it's a much more physical game and all that type of stuff. So I think that that's something I've been working on, and something I will keep working on. But other than that, I want to make sure that, I'm perfecting my shooting. Obviously, I'm a shooter, so it's going to be a big part of my game, perfecting that. But the biggest thing I want to work on is probably my ball handling and that type of stuff, because I think that'd be big, to help the team if I can, grab those defensive rebounds and then push the break, push the transition. And I think that would be something that I could do that's going to help the team, because if I'm being honest, I'm all about winning. If the team's winning, then I'm happy, and obviously the team's happy then. So if that's going to be something that I can do to help the team, then that's what I'll do.
I'm sure it is. I've seen some highlights of you shooting it out in my favorite spot, the 3-pointer. So
Right.
I'm sure you'll define. I want to end this quick because we got about 9.5 minutes left on the Zoom call. This is the one-word challenge for those who don't know what it is. I throw out a few names, topics, or places of things that have to do with my guest, and he has to do his best to say a word or two that comes to mind. So, Rory, are you ready?
I'm ready.
London,
Home.
Ontario,
Second home.
the Ryan Center,
Crazy.
Jeremy Foumena,
Friend.
the Beatles,
Music.
fish and chips,
Yummy.
and last but certainly not least, Rory Stewart.
Damn. What's a one word? Unbelievable.
That's the first. That's the first one, but I'm sure that will be coming true. Will, sir, I want to say thank you for taking the time out to do this. I'm sure your time, you're getting ready to finish at Orangeville and then get ready to come to URI. So take time aside. It means a lot. For all those out there who enjoy this, do us a favor, subscribe, like, comment, share, because when this man's starting this year, because come on now, why wouldn't he? You're going to regret not subscribing and liking, commenting, all that fun jazz. Follow on the audio platforms as well. Rory, is there anything you'd like to promote, plug, put out there for everyone to tune into?
Just, if anyone at Orange was watching this or any of my friends and family, just want to thank everyone for getting me into this position to where I can play basketball next year. Sorry, at URI, and yeah, I'm just super grateful for everyone that's ever helped me.
Well, for all those who want news updates regarding the podcast, follow on Twitter, Nolan Car Night, and on Instagram, Nolan Car Night Show for all news and updates. As I said, and in the words of Johnny Carson, I bid you all a heartfelt good night. Here's to another billion, cajillion episodes. Take care.